Have you ever found yourself thinking they have more money than I do and feeling that tightness in your chest? This constant comparison only fuels anxiety and the feeling that you're always behind. But there's a way to break this cycle and find financial freedom without measuring yourself against others. In this content, I'll show you how to free yourself once and for all from the "they have more money than I do" syndrome and build a healthy relationship with your own growth, away from the traps of comparison. Get ready to transform the way you see money and finally focus on what really matters: your progress. If you're interested in improving your financial and personal future, make sure to subscribe to the channel and click the like button if this video is important to you. What is the "they have more money than I do" syndrome? The "they have more money than I do" syndrome isn't an official psychological term, but it perfectly describes a distressing feeling of financial inadequacy. It's the sense that everyone around us is more successful, lives under more privileged conditions, and enjoys more opportunities. In other words, it's a constant and negative comparison where we put ourselves at a disadvantage and end up losing confidence in our own abilities and our own worth. When we dive into this way of thinking, we stop seeing the reality of our own journey and focus solely on what we lack, comparing our behind the scenes with someone else's spotlit stage. This results in a distorted self-image, marked by frustration and excessive self-criticism. Comparison as a human instinct, comparing ourselves, is part of human nature. For millennia, comparison served as an evolutionary tool. Observing the skills of other group members could teach us to hunt better, find more resources, learn survival strategies, and ensure competitive advantages in the environment. However, social behavior has changed, and nowadays comparisons occur in a completely different context. With social media, the world has become closer, turning into a massive display window for achievements, where everyone showcases their best moments. This selective snapshot is so powerful that it creates the idea that only we are facing difficulties or limitations. As a result, comparisons have ceased to be a constructive tool and often become a source of suffering and anxiety. The role of social media in financial comparison: social networks such as Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn have become ideal environments for financial comparison. We often see posts of people traveling to paradise-like destinations, flaunting expensive consumer goods, or sharing significant professional achievements. While there is undoubtedly a lot of inspirational and genuine content out there, it's also true that most of the time, these platforms showcase only the positive and glamorous aspects of people's lives. As a consequence, observers consuming this kind of content frequently feel left behind. Restlessness arises. Why don't I have a car like that? Why can't I travel as often? Is my salary too low? Am I wasting my potential? This spiral of thoughts feeds the "they have more money than I do" syndrome, undermining self-esteem and confidence in one's own path. Just from what you've learned so far, it's really important for you to share this with the person you like the most, with your family and friends, so everyone can find out about it. The illusion of appearance is a key point in the process of financial comparison, is that not everything that glitters is gold. How many people go into debt precisely to sustain a lifestyle beyond their means? How many lease a luxury car but live with overdue bills? Or buy designer clothes, yet need to split their credit card payments into 10 installments? This reality becomes even more intense on social media, as it's easy to create an image of prosperity that doesn't always match the financial truth. Unfortunately, those watching from afar with little or no information about the real story truly believe the other person lives in abundance and start to harbor feelings of envy, injustice, and even despair. Psychological consequences of comparing yourself. Constant financial comparison can trigger various negative consequences for mental and emotional health, including 1. Low self-esteem, feeling less capable or less deserving, believing that personal worth is directly tied to how much money one has. 2. Anxiety, excessive worries about how to reach a certain material standard, coupled with the fear of never getting there. 3. Depression, In more severe cases, comparison can contribute to the emergence or worsening of depressive symptoms when a person convinces themselves there's no way out of their situation. 4. Feelings of inferiority. The persistent perception of being behind others creates the false belief that we're not good enough, causing insecurity in other areas of life. 5. Lack of motivation. Rather than inspiring growth, comparison can paralyze. If we think we'll never catch up to others, we stop trying or making an effort because we come to believe our efforts are useless. The impact on relationships, the "they have more money than I do" syndrome, not only affects an individual's perception of success or failure, it can also harm relationships. Behaviors like jealousy, envy, and resentment toward friends or family are more common than you might think when there's a constant comparison of financial status. In other cases, the person feeling inferior may distance themselves from social events or skip group activities because they feel economically unable to keep up with everyone else's spending. Over time, this can lead to isolation that undermines bonds of affection and creates a barrier of discomfort and insecurity. The culture of success and having part of the problem lies in consumerist culture and the excessive glorification of material success. We grow up hearing stories of people who got rich early and achieved fame, money, and status before turning 30. Movies, TV shows, and celebrities reinforce the ideal that owning expensive items is a surefire sign of happiness. In this context, those who don't have access to such goods or can't show off a similar lifestyle often feel incomplete. Having becomes more important than being, and people define themselves more by their bank balance and possessions than by their human qualities and personal achievements. Reflections on meritocracy and inequality. It's essential to remember that financial comparison is also influenced by macroeconomic factors such as social inequality and opportunities to access education and the job market. Many times, someone who has more money didn't just get there through individual merit, but also through class privileges, family connections, or opportunities others didn't have. Understanding this isn't an excuse for inaction. It's a way to put the complexity of individual realities into perspective. By recognizing the multitude of factors involved in accumulating material goods, it becomes easier to see that each journey is unique. Consequently, comparing someone else's finish line to our own starting point can be extremely unfair, especially to ourselves. Strategies for dealing with comparisons. It's not simple to reverse the tendency to compare ourselves to others, but there are strategies that can help in this process. 1. Awareness. The first step is noticing when we're comparing ourselves. Observing our thoughts and feelings can reveal how often this happens during the day. 2. Filtering social media. Doing a cleanup of the content we consume can reduce triggers for comparison. Unfollowing profiles that flaunt wealth or make us uncomfortable is crucial. 3. Valuing your achievements. Making a list of everything you've already accomplished in life, not just materially but also in relationships, experiences, and learning, helps boost self-confidence. 4. Practicing gratitude. Developing a sense of gratitude for what we have today, health, family, friends, safety, opens the door to genuine happiness. 5. Setting realistic goals. Instead of trying to reach someone else's standard of living, define goals based on your reality and possibilities. The importance of financial health. To avoid falling into the comparison trap, it's essential to look after your own financial health. Understanding your income, expenses, debts, and investments is a crucial step toward knowing where you are and where you want to go. Having an organized plan can ease anxiety because it clarifies what is and isn't possible at the moment. For instance, by building an emergency fund and setting personal budgets, it becomes easier to see that financial well-being doesn't depend on luxury or showing off, but on stability and control. This way, the pressure to look like you have more money than you actually do decreases, because the sense of security becomes more important than appearances. Internal factors versus external factors. Although external factors, such as culture and social environment, do influence our comparisons. A number of internal factors make some people more vulnerable to the "they have more money than I do" syndrome. These can include limiting beliefs about money, often inherited from family, and a fragile self-concept, where self-worth is measured by other people's approval. By working on our inner world, strengthening self-esteem, and reshaping such beliefs, we become less susceptible to comparison and better equipped to pursue a financial path that aligns with our values. The role of self-knowledge is one of the most powerful tools for dealing with financial comparison, or any comparison that causes suffering. When we come to deeply understand who we are, what our authentic desires are, and what we value, we stop wanting to live someone else's life. Realizing that everyone has a unique journey eliminates the need to measure our success by someone else's standards. Instead, we can assess our progress based on our own goals, recognizing our achievements as part of a personal, singular journey. Comparing yourself to yourself, a healthier form of comparison, is measuring your own growth over time. Instead of looking at what others have, you might ask, am I better off today than I was a year ago? Have I learned new skills, overcome challenges, achieved something that once seemed difficult? This approach turns our attention inward, toward our own achievements, helping us develop a more realistic and generous view of who we are. Additionally, it becomes motivating to track our own progress, because each small victory is the fruit of genuine, unique effort. The influence of family and social circles often. Our family and social circles reinforce values that encourage financial comparisons. From an early age, children might hear comments like, "So-and-so has this toy. Why don't you have it?" Or, "Your cousin got into a great job and will earn a lot of money." Even if there's no bad intention behind these remarks, they foster a mindset of competitiveness and constant assessment of what others possess. Recognizing these family roots and understanding how they influence our self-image can be the first step toward breaking the cycle and adopting a healthier stance on money. The danger of chasing the wind sometimes, trying to surpass others financially, turns into an endless race with no guarantee of happiness. Since the need to have more is continuous, there will always be someone richer, more famous, or better positioned. A person guided by comparison can never reach full satisfaction. Even if they achieve a certain level of prosperity, they'll soon compare themselves to someone even more successful, restarting the cycle of insecurity. The result can be exhaustion, a loss of life's meaning, and an inability to enjoy the achievements already obtained. How comparison affects your productivity. When we're obsessed with someone else's financial life, our productivity tends to drop. That's because mental and emotional energy is wasted on worries and frustrations, rather than being channeled into work, studies, or skill building. Moreover, the stress caused by feeling left behind can lead to poor judgment, hasty decisions, and difficulty concentrating. Paradoxically, the desire to compete can sabotage our own performance, creating a vicious cycle that further fuels negative comparisons. The influence of marketing and advertising. It's worth noting that the marketing and advertising industry capitalizes on our instinct to compare. Ads featuring people joyfully driving expensive cars or wearing luxury brands suggest that to enjoy the same status and happiness, we need to consume those products. This tactic is highly effective because it taps into our desire to belong to a certain group or stand out socially. However, understanding how this mechanism works is the first step to avoiding the pitfalls of debt or impulse buying, driven solely by the urge to match someone else's lifestyle. Building a new money mindset. One key to overcoming the "they have more money than I do" syndrome is developing a healthy mindset about money. This involves 1. Understanding the nature of money. Money is a resource for exchange, not a measure of human worth. 2. Separating being from having. Our identity, character, and dignity aren't limited to our bank balance. 3. Focusing on positive financial habits. Learning about investments, budgeting, and spending plans. 4. Avoiding excessive consumption patterns. identifying what truly matters to us rather than blindly following the consumerist crowd. When our relationship with money is guided by awareness and balance, the need to compare finances with others drops significantly. When to seek professional help if financial comparison is causing intense suffering, harming your quality of life and relationships, it may be essential to seek professional help. Psychologists and therapists who specialize in behavioral finance can help identify toxic thought patterns and propose effective techniques to deal with them. In some cases, a financial consultant or planner can also be very helpful in reorganizing finances and setting concrete goals, reducing anxiety and the feeling of being lost amid difficulties. Practical tips for everyday life for those who want to start combating the "they have more money than I do" syndrome. Here are some helpful daily tips. 1. Challenge your thoughts. When you feel that pang of envy or frustration seeing someone with more money, ask yourself, do I really know the full story behind this? How can I appreciate my current reality? 2. Keep a success journal. Write down small and large victories each day, whether financial or not. This helps maintain perspective on what you already have. 3. Set priorities. List what truly matters in your life, e.g., family, education, health, leisure time, and remember these before making any comparisons. 4. Limit social media time. Establish screen-free periods so your brain can rest from the flood of information that may trigger comparisons. 5. Practice acts of kindness and solidarity. Helping others financially, with your time, or with your skills, can increase your well-being and reduce the obsession with what you lack. The power of contentment isn't complacency. It's the ability to recognize the value of what you have without stopping your pursuit of improvement. Cultivating contentment can be the key to balancing your quest for financial growth with the peace of mind needed to enjoy the present moment. When we are content, we can set goals more clearly because our desires stem from a place of gratitude and realism, not from a void that needs to be filled by external approval. Thus, comparison loses its grip, and we can follow our path with greater ease. Stories of people who overcame comparison. Many people have publicly shared how they escaped the trap of financial comparison and found a more fulfilling life. Someone who realized they didn't need a luxury car to be happy, opting for a simple, practical vehicle instead, and redirecting their resources to travel and family experiences. An executive who, after years of comparing herself to millionaire colleagues, decided to focus on a social impact project, finding fulfillment in helping the community and living with a greater sense of purpose. A young professional deeply in credit card debt because they were trying to appear prosperous online. After a crisis, they embraced a minimalist lifestyle and paid off their debts, experiencing a peace they'd never felt before. These stories reinforce the notion that happiness doesn't depend on accumulating possessions, but on living in alignment with who we are and what we do. Defining a personal standard of success, everyone can and should establish their own standard of success. While some may see success as traveling the world, others may define it as having a solid career and enough financial stability to support a family. Some value flexible schedules or the option to work from anywhere. The important thing is that your definition of success is an internal concept aligned with your own values and aspirations, not a social dictate based on appearances or numbers. Once you discover your version of success, you stop chasing other people's shadows and start carving out an authentic path. Balancing ambition and satisfaction. A common question is, so, shouldn't I have financial ambition? Of course you should. Wanting to prosper, earn more money, and achieve material goals can be entirely healthy, provided it comes with emotional balance and a clear understanding of what it represents in your life. The difference is in seeking this growth for internal reasons, fulfilling dreams, ensuring comfort for your family, gaining financial independence, etc., rather than to impress or compete with others. When ambition is balanced with personal satisfaction, it ceases to be a burden and becomes a positive stimulus. Self-image and money can have a deep impact on how we see ourselves, but it doesn't have to define our self-image. People who define themselves solely by their wealth risk developing fragile relationships because their identity is tied to something that can change drastically with market fluctuations and circumstances beyond their control. To build a solid self-image, it's essential to diversify our sources of fulfillment. Invest in hobbies, relationships, spirituality, continuous learning, and other activities that go beyond having more or fewer financial resources. Educating future generations. If we want a future where financial comparison is less destructive, we must educate the next generations differently. Teaching children and teenagers about personal finance, work, income, investments, and above all, about values and purpose can help them develop a more balanced view of prosperity. By emphasizing cooperation, social responsibility, and collective well-being, we can reduce frenetic competition and create a healthier culture, one in which each individual is valued for who they are, not just for what they own. Letting go and minimalism movements like minimalism and letting go have grown in recent years. They suggest that happiness doesn't come from endlessly acquiring stuff, but from living more simply and mindfully. Though not everyone will apply these philosophies to the same extent, minimalism challenges excessive consumerism and invites us to reflect on what truly brings fulfillment. By choosing a lifestyle less driven by acquisition, many people say they feel freer and less compelled to compare themselves, because the focus shifts to experiences, relationships, and personal growth. Dealing with social pressure, even if we do the internal work, society around us may subtly pressure us to follow certain status norms. If our family, for example, places an excessive value on accumulating material goods, it will be hard not to feel that pressure at some point. One strategy is to set boundaries and clearly communicate our choices. When we feel judged, we can explain that we have different priorities or that our view of life isn't necessarily tied to that ideal. Though it may be difficult at first, over time the people around us learn to respect our decisions, and we can build a more welcoming environment for our lifestyle. Integral prosperity. Some advocate for the concept of integral prosperity, which isn't limited to finances, but also encompasses physical and mental health, relationships, spirituality, leisure time, and contributions to society. This perspective helps us see that money is just part of the whole and not necessarily the most important aspect. By striving for integral prosperity, individuals seek to balance all areas of life so that happiness doesn't hinge solely on having a big bank account. This balance prevents toxic comparisons because we recognize everyone has strengths and weaknesses in different dimensions. Breaking the cycle of dissatisfaction. To truly break the cycle of dissatisfaction caused by financial comparison, you need commitment and patience. It's a process of re-educating the mind, where we unlearn ingrained beliefs and habits. Some steps might include practicing self-care, scheduling moments of relaxation, leisure, and reflection into your routine. Diving deeper into emotional intelligence to handle envy, guilt, and frustration more effectively. Seeking inspiration from people who value quality of life beyond money. Slowing down consumption and critically assessing each purchase, asking whether it really meets a genuine need or is driven by the desire to keep up with others. Turning envy into constructive admiration. There's nothing wrong with looking at someone successful and feeling admiration. The problem arises when this turns into envy, accompanied by the pain of believing we can't have something similar. Instead, we can reframe that feeling into positive curiosity. What can I learn from this person's journey? Which of their actions could I adapt to my own reality? This shift in perspective encourages growth and reduces the anxiety of comparison by redirecting our focus from what we lack to what we can achieve through learning and inspiration. The power of sharing vulnerabilities. Another way to break the illusion of social media and appearances is by sharing vulnerabilities. When people openly discuss financial difficulties, tight budgets, debts, and failures, the atmosphere of comparison tends to diminish. We realize no one is immune to problems and that the success shown online may coexist with personal battles. Likewise, by sharing our challenges honestly, without playing the victim, we can find support and creative solutions from our network. This openness helps us remember that real life has ups and downs and that nobody enjoys constant, obstacle-free prosperity. Long-term planning, a good way to lessen anxiety about your financial situation, is to develop a long-term plan. Knowing where you want to be in terms of career, business, and quality of life allows you to adjust the present moment to head in that direction. This gives meaning to daily efforts and reduces the feeling of being stuck or behind. With a long-term perspective, it becomes easier to resist short-term consumption pressures or avoid being too shaken by others' achievements. After all, you're focused on building something meaningful to you at your own pace with your own resources. Realizing what truly brings happiness. Studies in positive psychology suggest that happiness is much more related to experiences, social connections, personal fulfillment, and a sense of purpose than to material goods. Of course, having enough money to cover basic needs and enjoy some comforts is important, but beyond a certain point, the extra dose of happiness money provides is limited. Once you understand this, you start investing more in meaningful moments rather than in displays of wealth. And when you devote time and resources to experiences that enrich you emotionally, comparison becomes less relevant because you're accumulating something intangible, experiences that shape who you are. Distancing yourself from those who only value appearances, sometimes we need to reassess our social circles. If we're surrounded by people who put an excessive emphasis on showy lifestyles and make us feel bad for not matching their spending power, it might be time to seek out different company. This doesn't necessarily mean abruptly cutting ties, but rather opening yourself to new groups and communities that value deeper aspects of life. Over time, you might discover much more supportive environments where you don't need to prove anything to anyone, and where financial comparison is no longer a constant topic. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and subscribe for new videos every week.